Alright, so we're here with the second part of the Roundup reviews. Let's not really waste any time and get into the first movie. Kicking off this Roundup review is a movie that caught my attention for how strange of a premise it was. This real-life contest is one of the weirdest things just out there, and a comedy focusing on that could have been a great idea. And with Will Ferrell as a name attached to it, despite his recent output, I was intrigued. However, this movie was just dumb. There was a lack of any comedy or jokes, and the story is so cookie-cutter that it makes Holmes and Watson look like groundbreaking cinema in comparison. Nothing of any real substance or personality is to be found within this movie. It's an extremely strange movie in that it almost feels inhuman. It's just a blank slate of nothing for 2 hours. What am I supposed to do with this kind of movie? Nothing about it gives me anything to talk about besides how plain it is. This movie is so vapid that I'm almost convinced it doesn't even exist. It wasn't terrible in a funny way or an interesting way. It was just a really boring, bad movie. Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga, gets a C-. This was a movie that I was actually looking forward to. While the trailers didn't suggest anything that original, it seemed very visually interesting, and Tom Hanks is always a plus. So really, what could have gone wrong? Man, am I bad at this. This movie was not only one of the most generic and bland war films to come out in the past couple of years, but this might just be one of the most boring movies I've ever seen. The dialogue is nothing but jargon about boats that is extremely uninteresting. Tom Hanks is phoning it in big time, and the visuals are super uninteresting and even look ugly at times. It's super repetitive and just doesn't do anything for me. Well, I would get there going the Dunkirk route of having the lack of story be made up for with bleak realism. Where this movie fails is the amount of dialogue and digital effects it had. Dunkirk worked not just because it was a historically accurate, but because it grabbed your attention the entire length of the runtime and was a spectacle visually. Greyhound was an absolute snooze fest that overlied on cheaper visual effects. While I'm not against CGI whatsoever, it is completely misused here. I almost put myself to sleep thinking about this movie, so I'm going to give it a C- and just move on. I really don't know what I was thinking when I pressed play on this one. Well, the whole Netflix Happy Madison movies have been kind of winning me back, and I like David Spade. I knew how bad this thing would be just from the trailer. This was just not a good movie. While some of the music choices are surprisingly good, and it's more visually interesting in terms of cinematography than it has any right to be, it's still an absolute train wreck. At best, the movie got a few cheap laughs out of me and actually made a good character out of Rob Schneider, which is a first. And at worst, it's just insufferable, going for the most lowbrow jokes imaginable. The script might be the worst of the entire year, and the lack of any likable characters made this movie a chore to get through. The Wrong Missy gets a D-. Finally, a movie that I actually enjoy. Tigertail is a beautifully sad movie that was genuinely moving. The direction is top-notch from Alan Yang. The movie is beautifully shot, well acted, well edited. This movie is just all around really enjoyable. Well, I'm not really a fan of more slow burn movies. Tigertail just was so well made that I couldn't help but love it. The dialogue is funny, touching, and heartbreaking all at the same time. The performances from every actor feels genuine. The score fits the tone of the movie so well. The movie also switched through different time periods throughout the movie, effortlessly. The entire movie felt very human and very genuine and felt like a story that hit very close to home for Alan Yang. Alan Yang really created something touching with Tigertail. Even if the story could be a bit choppy at times and it's way too short, in the end, that didn't really matter for me. This movie is fantastic, and I'm going to give it a very strong A-. Lastly, we have one of the weirdest movies I've seen all year. Tons of people were telling me to check it out just because of how strange it was. And they weren't kidding. The movie can be very strange at times, and actually the direction from Jeff Benna and Alison Brie's performance are both great. Actually, the first half of this movie I actually really, really liked. But to me, it just kind of missed the mark. Well, like I said, the first half of the movie is a really, really good movie, and it's a really great setup for the second half. The movie just pays off in a really, really dumb way. The characterization of the protagonist is sloppy, the pacing is way off, and it just feels like the movie was weird and pretentious for the sake of being weird and pretentious, instead of actually telling a compelling story. While I do believe there was potential to be found here, and this movie there's major talent both on and off the camera, to me, it's just a wasted premise on an undercooked script. Horse Girl gets a very, very, very light B-. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know I haven't really reviewed something in a while. There hasn't really been a lot of new releases coming out, but I wanted to get this out. I will be doing a lot more videos, now. So, see you guys later.